Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part series of turning the iPad Mini 6 into a mini laptop using a folding keyboard that is actually easy to carry and type on. In part 1, we're reviewing an ergonomic folding keyboard that is actually smaller than the iPad Mini, and is actually easy to carry without a trackpad. In part 2, we'll cover a folding keyboard that has a built-in trackpad for even more mini laptoping power and check its compatibility with iPad OS. This is compatible with all tablets and not just limited to iPad, as well as all smartphones including iPhone since it's a Bluetooth keyboard. But in today's video, we're focusing on iOS compatibility. Today's video is about one of those accessories that bridge the gap between iPad and laptop. I was headed to the airport last weekend for Austin City Limits, and this was the perfect time to grab and review this keyboard. Except a creative minority, nobody imagined the iPad as a laptop when it came out. With the latest advancements, both in the capabilities of the iPad from hardware and software perspectives, you can basically do almost anything on these machines, except truly complicated tasks that require serious laptop or desktop interactions.
What you doing on your computer?
What's a computer?
We're reviewing the foldable keyboard by a company called Moko and covering its features, versatility, real-life usage, and making a recommendation to either buy or not buy this flexible, and honestly, simply cool little productivity weapon. Apple is always coming out with the coolest new bleeding edge thing. I used to closely track everything, but now I just periodically check in on the latest releases and I'm like, oh, they released the next M chip already? And I do have a hard time tracking how many iPads are out now. Besides sitting on my shelf, my iPad doesn't really do much. And that's not to say it's not capable. The iPad is a tremendously capable device that basically has laptop class computing in it. The problem is that I don't use it. With the MacBook Pro readily available and all the CalDigit docks, I can have a one-cable solution to fully expand across my setup and have a full-fledged Finder and a full-fledged Final Cut Pro and desktop class apps, which I'll never give up. The one time I did use my iPad recently, it was for a medium-length airplane flight, and for that, there is nothing I would rather use. The design is innovative. Well, I don't know if folding keyboards are innovative per se, but it does seem cool and versatile to me. The big selling point is the size it folds down to, which is smaller than the iPad itself. I love that. The keys are nice, and we'll talk about that in the typing section. This folding keyboard charges via micro USB, also known as micro USB, which is aging and admittedly USB-C would be nicer. It's not a big problem because I have charged it only once since I bought it forever ago. The material isn't the nicest, most premium, but it's not the cheapest either. It's a solid, middle-tier material option, and the texture is nice. I did some basic YouTube scripting on the flight, and nothing too complicated. I then took this keyboard and iPad to a Starbucks and enjoyed some coffee. From a carrying perspective, this keyboard is amazing. With one hand, you can carry your whole setup on the go and set down and have mostly everything you need. It wasn't a full-fledged desktop setup, but that's what you get when you travel. It was also super cool how I could palm the iPad mini and hold everything in one hand. The iPad has regular cases with keyboards and trackpads, but the mini is too small, but that's too bad, because the mini is the most versatile device. The larger iPads are full-fledged tablets. I'm surprised I'm even saying that, because I remember when the tablet first came out, and now I feel old while doing this voiceover, but anyways, back to the script. Basically laptops with all the accessories, and at that point, buy a small MacBook Air with an M1 chip. Between desktops, laptops, full-size 13-inch tablets, I think the iPad mini is the sweet spot because it's small enough to truly be a tablet and carry in one hand and be portable. On the keyboard, know that the layout is a bit smaller than usual. I didn't like having to get used to the layout, but maybe that's just me being an old grump about changing how my hands are arranged, and maybe this is more ergonomic. It supposedly is. The keys have a very satisfying press. Very satisfying, surprisingly so. It is very cool how it turns on right when you need it when you open it. The long-term durability, as I've tested it, is excellent. I doubted the opening and closing hinge mechanism would last, but I shouldn't have. It's nice how the iPad interface naturally adjusts between the keyboard on the screen and no keyboard when it detects the keyboard is connected. It's an inconvenience at times when you have to touch the screen to do work. A trackpad would have been nice. This makes me want to grab a laptop to do serious work. Keyboard labels are kind of a hit and miss, since it has a bit of an identity crisis, trying to be labeled for iOS and Android and Windows. But luckily, at least in OneNote, you can hit the Windows key, which is actually the Apple command key, and see what commands are available. In the ownership of this keyboard, I've charged it a grand total of 1 time, months ago. I don't know what it's rated for, but it gets my stamp of approval for battery life. It's unlikely that you'll even need to bother, basically ever, with a micro USB connection, which is unfortunately micro USB instead of USB-C. Would I buy this if I didn't have already bought it? Yeah. I guess this kind of turned into an iPad review and an analysis of whether an iPad is truly worth it over a laptop, in which case an iPad is not better than a laptop, for me personally. But if you know you're not doing much like video editing, and you know you're doing light work like classwork, catching up on documents, emails, etc., and you're sure you're sticking to an iPad, then this is a terrific choice of keyboard. When in the off chance I'm going somewhere where a laptop doesn't go or fit, this is the first and only thing I'll feel the need to grab. If you like this, please subscribe and let me know below in the comments what you think and how you like the keyboard. Thanks for watching.